So you want to hike a Colorado 14er. It's a great goal. We have a ton of them in the state, and in this video I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to hike a 14er. You might be excited and ready to hit the trail, but before you even do that, you're going to want to make sure you get inside back in the house, because actually the first 3 steps in hiking a 14er start at your own house. Let's hit the computer. It may seem like a very obvious step because it is, but the first step for hiking a 14er is picking your 14er. Not only do you have to pick your mountain, but you also have to pick your route. So you can use a number of different resources to do this. I'd recommend starting at my site, virtualsherpa.com, and you can go ahead and check out the ranking list I have of all the Colorado 14ers, and also some of the routes, various routes on different mountains that I've done. When looking at a route, most likely for a lot of you, you're going to want to take the standard route, but if you want to do some more difficult, higher class mountains, you can definitely check those out as well. When you're picking a mountain, some obvious things are going to be the location, whether or not you have a dog, your ability, and how much time you have in a day. Once you have your mountain picked, it's time to move on to step number 2, which is checking the weather. Now, checking the weather on a Colorado 14er before you get out there is, without a doubt, one of the most important things to do. I usually use multiple resources. I tend to do 3: weather.gov, Open Summit, and Mountain Forecast. It gives you some variety of different models to look at. When you're looking at weather, you want to look at the entirety of the day. So from all the way in the morning to all the way in the evening, because you're going to want to expect and know what's coming from the whole time that you could be outside. When I look for weather, what I'm checking for are usually a couple of different things. Wind being number 1 for me. Obviously filming, it's tough to film in high wind, but just from a general experience, I don't like really high winds. They kind of take away, suck your soul out a bit by bit. Second, I'm looking for temperature. And then third would be precipitation, especially during those summer months for us, which would be middle to end of July to the middle of August. That's monsoon season for us usually, when we have afternoon thunderstorms, and you're going to want to be off the mountain by 12 p.m. when, even if not forecasted, thunderstorms are very likely. The weather is good and you're ready to move on. Step 3 for hiking a 14er in Colorado would be to pack. You want to make sure that you're packing smart and not bringing anything that is unnecessary and will get you into more trouble when you're out in the mountains. I have a video where I talk all about what to pack for a 14er. I'll link in the description below. But basically, you want to keep your bag nice and tight and concise with everything you need for a long day in the mountains. Step 4 for how to hike a 14er here in Colorado would be to get up early. How early? Well, that depends on the mountain, your objective for the day, and your experience. But usually you want to get up early to avoid the crowds, to make sure that you have enough time to complete your day. And of course, during the summer months when thunderstorms are a problem, avoiding those afternoon thunderstorms that can be deadly. For some of you, crowds are something you really don't care about, but for some mountains, crowds are applicable because of running out of parking, or in some cases, like Quandary Peak, having a reservation is required to hike a 14er here in Colorado. I know the question that many of you are going to ask is, hey, how early should I get up? As I mentioned, it's really, really dependent on your experience, the weather, and of course, your objective for the day. You know, for me, I'm waking up anytime I'm hitting the mountains from like 2 a.m. on. So if the early days are in the spring when I'm hitting a couloir and need to be off of it. And then in the summer and fall is when I tend to sleep in a bit more. Summer less than fall, but summer I'm picking smaller objectives based on my weather for the day. Of course, you could save yourself a lot of sleeping by camping close to your objective or breaking something into multi-days. And of course, it all depends on where you're coming from as well. With your homework done and your bag packed, you're now ready to hit the trail. Hiking up the 14er is pretty self-explanatory if you've done your homework. But of course, it's always good to have some kind of map or GPS to follow, and a hiking partner if you're not familiar with hiking or hiking 14ers to help you along the way. Take it in and enjoy, but be sure to always follow leave no trace. You don't need to bring a vacuum or anything, but picking up after yourself, respecting others around you, and leaving everything you find on the trail are just a few of the leave no trace principles that you should always follow on a 14er or any other hike outside. If you are bringing your dog on the hike, nothing makes me more upset than this. I'm all for bagging your dog's poop, but if you put it on the ground and say I'm gonna get it later, most likely you'll forget after a long day hiking at elevation where your brain goes to a noodle. So it's always best to just bring it with you and make the trail cleaner for everybody else. And for anybody who's like, well, what's the difference between poop in a bag that won't decompose and sitting on a trail where it will? Well, if everybody on the trail left their poop to decompose, the trail would literally turn into a pile of shit. Where if you move it to somewhere else, where, of course, from an environmental standpoint, yeah, argue with me all day. At least from a trail user standpoint, it's the right thing to do. Even if you are used to hiking, maybe you haven't been this high in elevation, be sure to just drink lots of water and pace yourself. Everyone is different, but I usually start feeling the elevation right around 12, 13,000 feet or so, and depending on my hydration the day before, definitely will still even get headaches when I'm up around 14,000 to this day. Whether you're on a 14er or any hike, it's always a good principle to just turn around. If you ever feel unsafe, unhealthy, the mountain will always be there another day. It's a really annoying expression to say sometimes, but it's always 100% true. As you're hiking up your 14er, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on the sky. Day like today, blue, not much to worry about. Clouds roll in very quickly and you want to keep an eye on them so they don't get you off guard. Once you get caught in a storm once, you will not enjoy it and hopefully live to tell the tale, but you usually won't let it happen again, and that's why keeping an eye on the sky is a kind of bonus tip, but definitely something you should do as you're hiking your way up to the summit. As you finally make your way up to the summit of the 14er you're hiking and get to it, congratulations and well done. When you're up there, be sure to take the time to soak it all in. I've done over 100 14ers now, and I think when I was initially checking off the first 58 original 14ers for the first time, I really was more concerned about checking off the box than soaking in the experience and all the hard work and planning you put into the day to get up at the top and enjoy it. Weather dependent, of course. So when you're on the top of the 14er, now is a great time to catch up with any of your hiking buddies, swap stories, rehydrate, send that check-in back to your significant other, friend, family, letting them know that you're okay if you have service. Get some food into your system. Just soak it in while you can. You earned it. Now that you've taken some time to enjoy the summit, that box is checked, summit is tackled, comes the, in my opinion, worst but most important part of hiking a 14er, and that is the descent. I say worst because for most people, they were building up to the goal of getting to the summit of the 14er or mountain or objective. Now that that's done, you realize you have X amount of miles left and a ton of work still to go. Be sure to take some time and still enjoy your hike down. And be careful, a twisted knee, a rolled ankle, those type of injuries tend to happen when you're fatigued and mentally kind of checked out a bit. In addition, make sure that when you're hiking, you follow the exact same route you took up back down to the car or trailhead. And the reason for that is because there have been a ton of cases of people getting off trail and lost and having to get rescued, or in even some extreme cases dying because they just took the incorrect way down. There's no shortcuts down a mountain. Of course, if you had a plan beforehand to make your 14er hike a loop, by all means go for it. The way down is never glorious, but it's a necessary part of the hike, and without it, you won't be able to hike another 14er. The other question I get all the time is, how many 14ers are there in Colorado? You'll see merchandise and lists with 53, 54, 58. For me personally, I go off of the 58 list, but I'll link a video in the description as well that talks about how many 14ers there really are in Colorado. The answer might surprise you. The other question I always get is, will there be snow, or what are the conditions like on X 14er or X month? And I'll answer the question like this. Generally speaking, here in Colorado, we have snow on our high peaks, depending on the aspect or the direction of the trail, until at least early July. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean that you're going to have to deal with snowshoes, but there's certainly sections, especially on some of the 14ers, where you'll need microspikes or mountain axe. But I will say that in general, the later you get into the year, even if there is snow, it'll be well tracked out. So as long as you have something like hiking poles or something to kind of give you grip in the snow, it won't be a factor. In terms of what are the conditions like in X month, that really depends on the mountain. The best place to check out information about that is 14ers.com trip reports, in which you can see the last time someone tackled a certain mountain. I'll link another video that talks about winter 14ers, and that'll give you a good idea if you're coming here, I would say before June, what trailhead access will be like or what conditions will be like. Because to be honest, before June, it's going to be full-blown spring/winter conditions, depending on how you want to view that term. But it'll be a lot of snow. On the other side of the year, every year is different. We usually get some kind of freak snowstorm in August or September on the high peaks, sometimes even July, but usually that snow melts almost the next day. When real snow starts to happen, again, varies by year, but it'll usually be later October and into November. And then as we get more towards the end of November, early December, that's when trailhead access starts to cut off and snow gets deep, where you're gonna need a full-blown winter 14er kit and also know about avalanche condition. Before wrapping up this video, I'm gonna leave you guys with a quick trivia question. So here it is. In 2021, what was the most hiked and least hiked 14er? Let me know your guesses in the comments below, and I'll give it a heart if you got it right. Once you're back down at the car, soak in your full accomplishment, crack open a cold beer, eat some warm food, and really just enjoy the awesome success you had hiking a 14er. Tens of thousands of people attempt and tackle 14ers every year, but that doesn't mean that they're easy by any stretch of the imagination. So be proud of yourself for tackling such an awesome goal. Hiking a 14er may seem daunting on paper, but it is a great goal to have. And if you follow these steps outlined in the video here, and then the additional ones linked in the description, you should be able to tackle that next summit no problem. That's gonna wrap up my video here on how to hike a 14er. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, drop a comment below, and let me know what you need help with on your way to hiking a 14er. All the resources I talked about throughout this video are linked in the description below. Go ahead and check out my 14ers channel to watch all 58 plus 14ers here in Colorado. Visit my website, thevirtualsherpa.com, where I have some more information there. If you're new to my channel, I do hiking tips, tricks, and virtual trail guides here in Colorado and beyond, not just the 14ers, tons and tons and tons of other content. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and then the bell icon greatly helps with growing this channel. As always, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next adventure.